Hey everybody, Rick Herrera here, and I'm here with Josh Reese. I had the honor of seeing Josh speak with Jimmy Burgess. Jimmy submitted an Inman article a few weeks ago, and y'all were talking about prospecting and driving buyers, and then social media, which got me excited. So actually, that was one of the few Inman videos and articles I watched all the way through, and Jimmy's fantastic. But I was really impressed with a lot of the things that you were doing. So I reached out to pick your brain a little bit and ask you a lot of questions, and you were so generous with your time and with your information that I asked if you'd be open to jumping on today and kind of sharing with agents how to leverage TikTok and social media to get more buyers, more business, brand yourself, and you were all game for it, which I super appreciate. So today we're gonna walk through that, but before we do, I'm gonna poorly explain your background and your story and your journey. So why don't you share a little bit about your journey through social media and what makes you such the expert on why people should be listening?
First of all, thanks, Rick, for having me. Super appreciate the opportunity. Um, Basically, I have been in real estate almost 10 years now, and I got into real estate. My background was actually, I had a background in digital marketing. The interesting thing is, I got into real estate and I forgot everything that I learned in my digital marketing background because I bought into the lie that like real estate is different. And at the end of the day, what I eventually learned is real estate's a business and the business math still maths.
Mhm.
It's not special. And so for us personally, what we found out is we were selling quite a few homes with our real estate team and we just weren't making any money. And I ripped apart our whole entire business. And really, what we determined was our cost per acquisition had got way too high. And a lot of that was because of the lead generation side of things. We were buying a lot of leads from other companies. And I'm not against buying leads, but I'm against buying leads inefficiently, and that's really what we were doing. And then on top of that, we were also paying a lot of companies to help nurture down our pipeline. So we would get somebody to the closing table, and like a third of what we made was just going to pay the lead cost and the nurture cost to get them there. So I basically decided that I needed to get back into my digital marketing roots and kind of figure out a better way to do it. And so that's kind of what I've been doing. Last year in September, I wrote a book and all about organic marketing. And that kind of, I didn't have any plans to really do anything else other than write a book. That book came about because I had a meeting with we'll call him a business coach. And he basically said that my ideas were stupid and nobody would listen to me because I didn't write a book. So I told him, well, I guess I'll write a book then. So I wrote the book last year. It was actually May 28th of last year. I started all brand new social media accounts. I wiped all my old accounts off and started fresh. And part of it was I just wanted to prove to agents what I was talking about could be done. And you don't need to spend a ton of money to really be profitable within the real estate space. So we did that. I designed some systems of how to basically leverage content, not only across platforms, so taking it from TikTok and Instagram and across platforms, but also taking it different types of content. So I'm really big on filming like one video and then breaking that video down into multiple posts and multiple content types. So taking the video and putting it into a written form or text form, and then being able to take one piece of video out across the board, different platforms and different posts to really maximize the time that you're behind the camera from a lead generation perspective. And the other thing we found too is like using social media to nurture clients, not just attract them, but then since you're already filming that content, why don't we find a way to nurture clients with it to help bring those costs down?
And brilliant, right? It makes sense. We're all tired of overspending for Zillow or those other lead aggregators out there. Uh, you found a more efficient way to do it.
So that was the goal. I mean, in our personally, what we in 2018 we started this process. By 2020, we had dropped our cost per acquisition almost 80%.
Wow.
And a lot of that was, we got rid of the Zillow, the Realtor.coms, because we were in a market at that time that our lead costs were pushing around $2,200 a lead. Um, so it was, not cheap. And we had a decent conversion rate. We were converting like our Zillow leads at around 7%. So they were a pretty good conversion rate. But what we found is if we can bring leads in for $10 a lead instead of $2,200 a lead, And even if we convert at 2 or 3%, because that is one thing, the lead quality will go down.
Mhm.
Um, but we were still way more profitable, and it wasn't over leveraging the business. And that was the other big part of it too, is when we were doing Realtor.com and Zillow, we were really over leveraged. So the second we had a market shift, we were in trouble. And that was one thing too. It was like I could see the writing on the wall that it wasn't sustainable long term with the history of the real estate market.
Well, and like I'm sure you would agree that whoever controls the data and the database is king, right?
Yes.
So you can continue buying leads, but like you really don't control the database like Zillow does, and or pick your aggregator, right? And there's been so many aggregators that have been out there, or vendors that have been out there to sell those leads to realtors, and then they start looking in to doing real estate themselves.
Yeah.
So you're paying them to build their business to compete with you and put you out of business. And that just never really made sense to me.
Yeah. Well, and I think right now too, we're seeing that, I always ask people, would you pay your local competition to buy leads from them? And they're like, well, absolutely not. I'm like, well, why would you do that to Zillow? Because they're now opening up brokerages in many states. And the other thing that we're seeing too is I have a lot of friends back in my old market that were still heavily dependent upon Zillow, and they were doing the Premier Agent program. And just within the last couple of months, Zillow has come to them and said, hey, we're moving Flex into your market. So we're cutting your Zillow Premier Agent account. We're not even offering you to join Flex because we have big teams that are going to take that. And I have a lot of friends that are sitting there going like they have no leads now. They're not getting and that's part of the big issue is once you get locked in with those companies, it really is kind of right now business. So you're not building up that long-term pipeline. And so that's another thing we do too, is we help transition teams and brokerages away from the Zillow model by basically teaching them how to slowly turn on a different lead source as you're turning down Zillow. Because it is those new leads are going to take, our normal nurture timeline on those style of leads that we're getting for like $10 a lead is
Mhm.
about 18 months. And so you slowly got to turn this on while you're turning Zillow off, and eventually you make that transition. But it's not an easy transition to make when the last 10 years you've been so reliant on Zillow that if they turn off your lead flow, you're done. So they kind of do have, they put people in a spot that's really hard to get out of. And I can tell
Yeah.
you from personal experience, there was some times that after we started this and turned off all those lead flows that I was like, I'm just going to call Zillow and turn it back on. Because it gives you heart palpitations when you're, going from having a bunch of leads coming in and closing deals to like turning it off and not
Nothing.
getting anything.
Yeah. That can be scary.
So yeah.
Yeah. So we talked, you shared with us, your background, your journey in that. So today, what are you most excited to show?
I think today the biggest thing is we all know TikTok has been kind of this behemoth that's really been up and coming within the social media scene. But the one thing that is kind of new that is we're really starting to see now because we have some long-term data is how much of a search engine TikTok is becoming. And people are now utilizing it almost like Google. And as in the real estate realm, I think we can take a lot of that data and use it to create other content. So one thing that we're doing is we're doing a lot of our keyword research. And I should say all of my social media content, anything that I'm making is all based off keyword research. My whole goal is to try to figure out who my target audience is, figure out what they're searching online, and then make content on that. So we're using TikTok now a lot. I'm still using Google keywords and all those type of things, but we're using TikTok to help kind of speak to that target demographic that's on TikTok. And we're doing it through the TikTok creator search insight. And then we're taking that and then using chat GPT to basically create films or YouTube scripts. And then break those YouTube scripts down into small short form content as well. And so we're going to walk through that today and show
Yeah,
you
I was just,
guys.
I was just gonna say, man, that's a lot. And for like, I
Yeah,
understand because I do this all the time, but I think 99% of realtors have no clue what you just said. So we,
yeah,
so I pulled up TikTok because like, let's start back to the very beginning. And you and I talked about this, but like the searching algorithms are changing, and it seems like you mentioned TikTok search, and I just wanted to kind of simplify it so that our
yeah,
realtors can understand is that many people, if they're like they use Google, most people use Google to do their search. But I think you have identified, and I talked about this, is the TikTok algorithm or the TikTok search function is impacting Google and impacting the other platforms. And it seems like it's kind of being derived from TikTok. What's being searched for on TikTok is affecting those other platforms. Or how can we
Yeah.
kind of, you guys do a good job simplifying that, or how can I better explain?
Yeah, and I think, the way that I like to is the old style social media platforms were heavily dictated on the content you would see was based off who you were following and who was following you. And what we're seeing now, TikTok has kind of flipped the script on that, and now they're serving you up content that they think you would enjoy based on a lot of other factors other than just who you follow. And a lot of that is data mining cell phones to see what people are searching on the internet, and then that is producing the content that you're seeing on TikTok. And if anybody wants to test this out, literally just go to, the browser on your phone, type in a search for, homes for sale in some market, and then go to TikTok. And I bet over the next 2 or 3 days, you'll start seeing real estate agents from that search that you did, and it wasn't even in TikTok. And that's one
That's the
thing
best
that,
way to explain it. That's why we all need to be
yeah.
on TikTok.
Well, and the interesting thing is, and I always tell people too, anybody that says they know how the algorithm works is lying to you. I don't claim to know how the algorithm works. I think if I did, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be working for like, Meta or something, making a ton of money. But the one thing that we do know is that Meta has come out publicly and said they're trying to figure out how to go to a much more intent-driven algorithm like TikTok, because it really gives people what they want. And it takes away the guesswork for the social media platform. And so not only is it working on TikTok, but actually seen over the last, 8 months, what was really working well on TikTok is starting to work really well now on the Meta platform, where before it was two very different things. Um, and I have a theory that I don't know if everyone watching this is familiar with the trial reels that Instagram is running right now on
I
trial reels.
saw that. Yeah.
So
What
I
is
have a
that?
theory. So basically, you can put a reel up there and it's supposed to shoot it out to people that are outside your audience. And so it's a way to test, like your reels to new audiences to try to gain followers. I think, and this is pure speculation, I have no proof to this. I think what that actually is Instagram is actually testing out a new algorithm overall. Because one thing that I've seen with that is when you do test reels, it's very similar to what you're seeing on the TikTok. When you post a reel to Instagram and then you post it to TikTok, the test reels are reacting very similar to what's going on TikTok. And I really think that Instagram and Meta is really testing out the trial reels, and that's the new algorithm that we're going to see on Meta.
All right. So before we get into TikTok, well, and what you're saying with the Google search, I guess over the years we've seen kind of the market um, be like larger opportunities in different social media channels, right?
Yes.
10 years ago, I felt the larger opportunity was on Facebook. A couple of years ago, it seemed like Instagram. Every other year, and maybe still now, it seems like YouTube is becoming more prevalent. But from what I'm hearing you say is that TikTok, if you were to pick one, that may be your primary one.
I think from a lead generation standpoint in real estate or even mortgage lending, yes. I think TikTok, because it's so intent driven, you're going to be trying to get people that are very, very top of the funnel, just starting that buying or selling process. And if you can make the right kind of content that gets in front of them, I think your probability of getting good leads off TikTok right now is it's the best. But that's also part of it too, why I like the whole posting content cross platforms, because if you're going to take the time to do it on TikTok and you can post it on Instagram, might as well do it. And so that's another thing too. It's like, just making, because you can post a short form video on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube in about 3 minutes. So that's the other thing too is, I love TikTok for a lead generation perspective, but I'm also like, well, if I'm making the content there, I'm going to post it on Instagram as well.
Yeah, and I also think that like for those that are watching this call, like watching you and I interact on this topic, like you and I are probably like the top 90%. You're probably like the top 99% in social media usage and understanding how it works. But for most realtors, they're going to be in that bottom 5%. What we're showing you today is a hack to kind of like jump the line and get better at something and use these strategies. By all means, you do not need to be perfect. You can
No.
post. like you and I, but Josh, we both started just starting with our iPhone, and then every video just getting a little bit better. People
Yeah.
see my videos now, I'm like, wow, do you have a professional videographer? I'm like, no, I do it myself. Because
Yeah.
once you learn, like you don't have to go. So long story short, rolling it back up. For those that are watching, don't feel like you have to be a master or a pro. We're going to show you how to kind of go from beginner to just to showing you some tips and tricks. But you only become a master or a pro or get really good at it or start driving business based on consistently posting.
Yep.
And and sometimes, you and I talked about this, like sometimes we'll post something like, all right, that one did not get the views we thought we were going to get, or that one did not get and sometimes views, like you had talked about, vanity metrics. Who gives a
Yeah.
shit about the views? Our big goal is generating leads. And I was listening to this influencer the other day on YouTube. You can't look at generating leads in the first week, 2 weeks, 30 days. You got to build a consistent uh, brand or
Yeah.
marketing. And that could take 3 months, could take six. But once you get it going, I mean, it's snowball.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. And that's one reason too that like what we're going to talk about today, I think is really relevant because it cuts down the amount of time that you need to film a bunch of content. And I think if you go back on my TikTok channel, especially, like I said, it's been up a year and you look back at my first
Dude,
video
I'm
that I
so
did a
jealous.
year ago,
Yeah.
it's like it's awful, but that's the thing. It got like 1,700 views. I was a brand new creator on a brand new platform with a brand new channel, and it got 1,700 views, and it took me about like 5 minutes. And I always tell real estate agents too, like, how long would it take you to cold call 1,700 people? Because I just did it in 5 minutes, and that was a brand new channel. It was terrible audio or terrible edits. It wasn't. Um, and so,
Dude,
yeah, just make the content. It doesn't have to be pretty. It really, to me, it's all about value. If you provide value, the social media algorithm will find people that it resonates with because that's the whole goal. And that's what they're good at.
well, I'm gonna share my screen. Let's get into TikTok.
Yeah.
You're gonna see the stuff I look at in view as soon as I log in. So, all right, we're on the screen here. First thing that pops up, boring niches in real estate. I'm sure if I scroll, here's another real estate post probably. FHA, yeah,
Yep.
another real estate post. So you know what I look at.
Yeah.
Real
And,
estate porn.
yeah. Well, and I bet too, the interesting thing here is like, you probably have been searching about niches within real estate. And once again, it's just proof that like this works. And the amount of data that these apps are collecting on us from other apps is phenomenal. And that's one thing. It's like leveraging that in real estate is huge because we know most consumers start their search online, 18 months before they reach out to a real estate agent. And so if you can get those people really, really early on, and that's what we were doing when we're running Google ads, is we're trying to find the top people that are top of funnel, that are just starting because A, they're cheaper, and B, it gives us an opportunity to nurture them down the funnel so that when they do get to the point of actually looking at homes, they're so educated that it makes our job much easier.
So let's talk about how the consumer would use TikTok to buy a home. So
So yeah, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say so obviously we go to the search button. Like what would they say? What would they type in? Like just to kind of give an
So
example.
yeah, so I would say, search something like how to buy a home. So now this is going to give you a breakdown of different videos. And I would be willing to bet you that if we took the time to kind of look at the videos that it brought up, it's probably relevant to your area, would be my guess, or something that you've searched recently. And so that's kind of the key. And then this is the mindset you have to get in when you're creating content using this is try to think like a buyer who would be, or a seller for that matter, who would be in that stage of the process. Um, and those are going to be what we're going to make the content about. So I really like, how to buy a home, first time home buyer tips, things like that, because that's what your consumer is going to be searching. Um,
So I don't know if you can see this, but it says right here, other search for, and it gives you a bunch of things. First
yeah.
time home buyer, 2025 programs, how to buy a home with no money, home buyer tips, programs for low income. So it gives you options.
Yeah. And that's where too, I think partnering as a real estate agent, partnering with a lender is super a really good idea because what it allows you to do is make content together. Because there's a lot of things like, in my opinion, real estate agents shouldn't be speaking to, especially on the lending side of things. But I think
Speak
finding
it up,
those,
Josh. Let them know. Keep their
yeah.
mouth shut.
So there's a lot of things that real estate agents shouldn't be speaking to on behalf of their lender, and they shouldn't be speaking to at all because you need to stay in your own lane. But I think that's why partnering with a lender is so important when you're doing some of this social media stuff because it gives you the ability to defer to someone else who's an expert in that area. Also, you're creating the content together, and so you're expanding the reach that it's going to have because two of you are collaborating together on this content. And so that's another thing too. When I see these and like one of them, home buyer grant programs, I've got agents I know that are making lender videos with their lender on different local grant programs. Those videos do really, really well. And it gives the agent an ability to provide value outside of real estate in the lending world. So then they can provide value there as well too.
So I love how you brought this topic up because ironically, so I got on TikTok 3 months ago. I've been trying to consistently post a video a day. I've already gotten 2 buyers from it. Haven't got any buyers on Instagram in years or in
Yeah.
months. But I was doing TikTok with my realtor friends, and she says, "Rick, we should do a TikTok live." And I was like, "I would love to, but I don't have the followers yet to go to TikTok live. You need like what, 1,000 followers?"
I
They
think so.
changed it.
Yeah.
They
Yeah, they
changed it.
did.
I could go live now. So now I went live. I went live again, and we did a live together where I was at my house, she was at her house. She went live, added me in, and it was like a Q&A with my mortgage advisor.
Yep.
We got 0 views. But I told her, I'm like, this is incredible. We need to do it again. We need to be consistent because let me tell you, Josh, we were terrible at it. We've never done it before. We sucked. But that's only how you get better is by doing stuff you suck at and doing it over and over
Yep.
again and trying to get a little bit better. So I called that realtor today. I was like, look, this time, if nobody chimes in with questions, let's go to Google and say, what are the 5 most asked questions from our first time home buyer? And we'll even say we're Googling the questions, and nobody logs in, and then we'll just take turns at answering the question that's our lane.
Yeah. And the other thing with that too is that's where I think also, recording those live sessions, even if nobody, let's say nobody gets on, right? But you can record those and then repurpose them into short form content and then post them up and you'll probably get some views. And that's where I think a lot of
And
people
share to the
like
other channels.
exactly, and share to other channels. And that's where I think a lot of people get stuck with social media is they focus so much on, oh, I only got 100 views or, and just like the proof is here. The reason I'm on this podcast with you today is because that interview with Jimmy Burgess. And Jimmy Burgess saw one of my videos and it has still to this day, I think less than 200 views, but it hit the right person. He reached out to me and started the whole snowball. So I think the moral of the story is you never know who's watching. And just because you're getting low views, who cares? Just make the content. It will find people that it resonates with. And, I had a YouTube video years ago that only got 8 views and got me a $3 million transaction. So, you never know who it's going to hit. And I think all too often we focus way too much on how many views it got. Don't worry about that stuff.
Well, one of the things that one of my guys I like, hang on, I accidentally stopped sharing my screen. I don't want to put that in there. One of the things that one of the people I follow, my idols, Alex Hormozy, says is like, why are we stuck on 1,000 views, 2,000 views, 3,000 views? If we were to go out and speak at a venue and 100 people were to show up, we'd be effing thrilled.
Yeah.
Right. So last night I hosted an event, a VA event, and only one veteran showed up. The realtor was bummed. I was like, we had somebody come. We talked, at least we talked to somebody. Like it could have been worse. Could
Yeah.
have talked to nobody.
Yeah. And that's, I think a lot of times we're in this like influencer culture where we think, oh, you need to have millions of views and everything. Now, yeah, if you're trying to monetize your social media to be an influencer, then maybe you do. But like from what I've seen on the real estate side of things, sometimes the you might only get 50 views, but they're 50 pretty good people. And if you can figure out how to, really connect with them, that's business for you.
Yep.
So,
And that's what it's about is just stop focusing. We could preach about this, right? Instead of the social media, but focus on going deep with people, not trying to get more people.
yep. And I think
Um,
value, focus on value,
bring value. Yeah.
you know, um,
So
that's
I
a
got my
big
tick.
one for me.
I got my TikTok back up. We did a search how to buy a home. So that's pretty much
Okay.
how we do it. How to buy a home. Content pops up.
Yeah. Um, and
And I'm
then
gonna
go
well,
ahead.
should I move I was gonna say, should I move the guide over, or you tell me of how to we start going over the
Well,
insights?
yeah, well, let's see if you can pull it up on your computer. If you do creator search
Okay,
insights.
let's see. There we go. Another real estate video. Profile. So I don't know if I can pull up insights on my computer.
If you go back to the search bar up there, just see if you type it in there, will it come up?
Oh,
There it is, creator search insights. Oh no, I don't think you can.
alrighty.
So yeah, if you want to pull up the guide, because I can walk people through it on the guide.
Gotcha. All right, let's pull the guide over. And then we'll just do a giveaway for this guide.
Okay. Yeah.
So we do the creator search, insight search. It pulls up this insights.
Yeah.
So
So
I'm
you're
gonna
gonna,
pull up my phone and do it from my phone as I follow along.
okay. So you're gonna go to the search bar in TikTok and you're gonna put in creator search insights, and then it's gonna pull up a little icon that looks something like this, and you're just gonna click view. And then what you want to do is you just want to put something broad into the search bar of the creator insights about a topic that you think you might want to make a video on. And so on the guide here, I did real estate seller and gave the example. Um, but then, so on this, one of the very first one is seller financing for real estate. And what that's showing on the guide here, it was 158,000 searches. So that I think would
Right here.
be, yep, right there. So seller financing in real estate, that would be a great video topic. It's got a good amount of search volume behind it. So I would then use that as the basis for a video that I'm going to make. And the way that I really like to utilize this guide is I'll use this to figure out like seller financing in real estate, and then I'll hop over to Chat GPT, and I have a prompt which is in this guide too that basically you just copy and paste it into Chat GPT, and then you give it this topic, seller financing, and it will create you a full script for a YouTube video that includes the title and description that are SEO optimized so that you can film that video and then just literally copy and paste those things right into YouTube and you have a YouTube video up. And we know that because YouTube, especially, is based off the Google platform and search, if people are searching this on TikTok, most likely they're going to be searching it on Google as well. Now, there's no way to prove that, but I'm in the testing I've done, it's pretty clear.
All right, so I did the creator search insight here. I pulled my phone to the computer. We got our
Okay.
creator search insight. We click on view.
Yep.
So now we're here, and obviously I've used it before, so it pulls stuff up. You
Yeah.
want to do a search for real estate sellers,
Yeah, you can, or we can do another example for this. It's fine.
but that would be right here. No, I want to,
Yeah.
so they can follow along. Seller, well, real estate seller, or let's do
And the
real estate
interest,
buyer. Let's do it a different way.
okay. Yeah.
Real estate buyer. We all want buyers.
And so you can look there and you can see the other thing that's interesting too is the little percentage marks, if they're going up or down, those are the topics that are hitting really hard right now, like trending, you could
Oh,
say.
I'm gonna
And
save this one.
so a lot of times I'll look at those, especially if I need a content for that, or if I need a video topic for like that day, I'll try to see what's trending. And that's really the only time I look at like trending things. Um, but other than that, you just pick a topic and you need to find one that obviously would resonate. Like, for example, their real estate leads. If you're making video content to attract buyers, you're probably not going to do real estate leads. That would be something I would do if I'm trying to attract clients. But for normal real estate agents, like that's not going to get them what they want. So you do have to find something in there that's being searched that would be relevant to the people that you're trying to speak to.
Oh, this is awesome. So I flagged a few that I made. All right, so we do our search, we found our topics we're make videos on, and then we go to the next step, step three,
Yeah.
right? Identify a rising trend. We talked about that here.
Yep.
Oops. Oh, let's go back. Let's go back. Talk about this here. So, real estate buyer, starting real estate. So we click on here, and then it says explore related topics, and it
Yeah.
has creator tips. So it actually gives you some advice on what to talk about.
Yeah, and that's the other
And
thing
what
that can really help too, because I think especially when you start making content at scale, you eventually get to a point where you just kind of get brain lock, and you can't figure out like what you're going to do that day or whatever. And that's another great thing too, is just reading through those. Like for example, emphasize a personal story to engage. If you've been in real estate for more than 5 minutes, you have some type of personal story that you could relate to viewers that would also teach a lesson and provide value. So that's something that, I'll go here too, like if I'm like kind of like can't think of anything and just start searching through there to get ideas.
I also sometimes look at the related videos just to
Yeah.
see other people's content and delivery, right? Because everyone's a
Yep.
little bit different and have their delivery and their messaging. And I feel that a lot of people I talk to and push to make videos, they're like, well, I'm different. What you see on TikTok isn't me. No, no, everyone's different. Be you.
Yeah.
So awesome. So I just want to show that, but let me go back. So step three, we saw the rising trend, which is this, correct?
Yeah, if that's one you want to, yeah.
So now I need to pull up ChatGPT, right?
Yeah. And the other thing about that too, Rick, that next step, step number 5, in this guide, I would say that's optional. You can, if you really want to fine tune your content, you can give it examples. I found YouTube works the best and take actual like the website for a specific channel and give that to chat, but you don't need to. I like to do that because it kind of customizes when I find someone that I like. It kind of customizes it a little bit better, but you can leave that step off if you don't want to. But I do like that because it gives you an ability to kind of customize the script that Chat GPT is going to spit out for you.
Okay. So we're going to say starting real estate is our, I can copy and paste this. I can't, but we'll just say starting real estate. It says copy and paste the exact topic you want to pull from TikTok Creator Insight. Once you do that, let chat. So I'm going to come here and type in make me a video for starting real estate.
If you scroll down in the guide, the prompt is actually in there.
Oh,
So you can just copy and paste it right out of there. It's right there. Um,
oh,
and a
wow.
cup, yeah, so you can
Dude,
just
this is
copy and paste.
fantastic.
So the one thing I will point out, I made this for you. So like the top line for the real estate market in Atlanta, Georgia. So if somebody is using this, they're going to have to make it for them.
No,
Um,
we're not giving this page out. I don't need any competition. Well, we're gonna keep this page for us.
so, but yeah, so you just copy and paste that directly into chat.
Dude, I don't think the people that are watching this or are watching this far into, hopefully people watch this far into the video, but this right here is so valuable, this prompt. Like people
Yeah,
spend thousands of dollars for prompts like this.
yeah.
They spend
No,
thousands of dollars for a coach to build out prompts like this. So I just want to make sure I put that out there if you're watching this. I use prompts all the time. Look at my chat GPT. I have my own prompts. I have my own GPTs I build out. I have my own projects. I'm a big chat GPT user. What Josh is giving us right here is freaking money.
so
This is worth your Inman subscription for the rest of your life. Just right here. All
and the
right.
other thing I will tell people while we're on this topic, one of the best websites it's pretty much free is called originality.ai, and they have a prompt generator. And the cool thing about it, you can design like 20 prompts a day for free. And all you do is you type in plain text of what you want the prompt to do, and then it will spit it out. So that's another thing. If you're new to AI and how it works, and you don't want to learn how to do your own prompts, use originality.ai. If you search originality.ai and prompt generator, you can do 20 of them a day for free without even signing up for an account.
That's amazing.
So, little side note there for anybody still watching.
Oh, hopefully they are because this is freaking money. All right. What else was I gonna go? So I put the prompt in here and then I'm gonna copy my word. Where am I gonna put that at? Are
So,
you
you
ready? Oh,
can
I should
just,
enter and say, are you ready for the topic?
yep, and then it should say yes, hopefully. Now, this is the true test if this works.
Starting real estate. So I built out my personal assistant in ChatGPT, Jarvis.
Oh, a little Iron Man reference there.
uh, starting real estate. thought about Ultron, but I didn't want to take over. All right. So it's giving me response one, response two.
Yeah.
So what does that mean to the casual observer? What the heck is that?
Basically, it's trying to figure out ultimately what it's doing is it's trying to learn what you like better and how you like things displayed within chat. So this is actually something that happens every once in a while. The more you use an account, the less this happens, but it's really trying to define how you want things laid out within your chat account, and kind of what works for you. So like I ran this same test earlier and I didn't get that. I didn't have to pick one. So I just normally tell people just pick one that you do like, and it's not really going to change the output a whole lot. It's just going to kind of change the formatting of how it displays to you.
So it's interesting. It talks about starting a career in real estate, right? But if I come back over
Yeah.
here, are you looking at related videos? Are you looking to build wealth through real estate?
Yeah. And so that's why, like, I think, it's a suggestion starting. I would say, I bet, like, if we ran this again, but instead of starting real estate, we did starting the home buying process in real estate, it would do something different. So that's, why the TikTok search is more or less of a guide that you can really, use, but we'll see what it does.
So let me go back here. Topic is, let's start this over. Topic is, let's try again. Topic is starting to buy a home in real estate or starting to buy.
So how about starting the home buyer process?
I think I got the two options because the topic is like, this has nothing to do with what you ever asked. What you, yeah, I think it would just be
And
good.
that, yeah, a lot of times, like chat is almost like a fail-safe. If you do something that's kind of out of the norm for you, it will ask you, like, are you sure you wanted to do that?
Yeah, because this is normal what I get.
Yeah. So
Oh, that's pretty cool. So every segment is a short form video.
yeah, so with that prompt, what it's going to do is it's going to give you basically an entire script. Now, me personally, it's not word for word, right? Like, I don't like doing word for word and then using a teleprompter because for me personally, it comes across very robotic.
Okay.
So I always lay my scripts out like this, where it's more or less bullet points. And then for me personally, when I'm filming like a long form video, I'll film it in chunks. So I'll do like the first chunk and then do the second chunk. And then in editing, I'll put them all together. Um, but the one thing that I told this prompt I want it to do is when you film the long form, the YouTube video, tell me where I can cut this up into smaller short form videos. So that's what it's telling you is, oh, short form idea number five is what happens after an offers. So what you can do is basically film a whole entire YouTube video in long form and then go back into your editor and just cut down those sections into short form vertical content like you would see on TikTok. Or so now you've made one YouTube video and you've got, six or seven short form content out of that one video, that you can post. So now you've made one piece of content that you can really post 20 different times between the different platforms and everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, man, this is super valuable. I'm going to start making my long form videos now. Now, one of the biggest challenges I have is I'm a fast talker, for those who haven't noticed. So when it says this is 8 to 10 minutes, I'm finishing at like 5 to 6.
Yeah. And that's where I tell people too, like a lot of times I hear people like, oh, I was told on, YouTube, you have to be between 8 and 10 minutes is the sweet spot. I think there's a certain, yes, that's kind of the case, but in my experience, if you just drag a video out to get to the 8 minute mark and it's not good, you're better off to do it in 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's
You
true.
know, and I would say for me personally, if I'm going to do anything that's over 3 minutes, I'm going to YouTube long form. If I'm doing anything under 3 minutes, I'm just doing it as short form content now. Because short form is so much easier. I'm doing like one long form YouTube video a week. I just started that like 2 weeks ago. And it's because those long form videos take so much time to edit and shoot. Short form is so much faster. So if I'm doing anything that's going to be less than 3 minutes, I'm not even messing with YouTube. I'm doing it as short form, and I will post on YouTube as a short, but I'm not doing long form content on anything under 3 minutes. So if you make it 5 minutes, I don't think there's a problem in that.
That's a
So
good point. Yeah, I never looked at it that perspective. But obviously, if you can make the longer form, like if you can do 10 to 12, like that is the sweet spot, right? I mean, I don't know what the sweet spot is. That's what I've heard.
yeah, and that's what I've heard too. I think there's some truth to that. But the other thing with this, the great thing about this prompt is like at the end of it, if you're like, oh man, I know I'm gonna do this, you can just add to it and say, hey, can you add a couple extra points on each section so I can talk longer?
So for our few advanced people in the audience, I want to throw something at you. I don't know if you've tried this yet, Josh. Um, Taking the same prompt and using it in deep work mode.
I haven't tried it yet, but it is
So,
something I'd be
dude,
curious to see what happens with it.
I started playing around with deep work mode last week on creating content. And what's really cool is, usually ChatGPT spits out your results like what, a minute, less than
Yeah,
30 seconds. Deep work goes deep, 10
yeah,
minutes. So it's creating so basically what I have it doing is writing my content, but then analyzing the top five people in my field or my industry that are doing content and seeing
yeah,
like what's working for them, but also managing my page and seeing what's working for me and create a future content to continue the traction. So it's pretty
yeah.
cool. You should definitely mess around with it.
Yeah, well, and that's one thing we just started doing, or I just started doing probably 4 or 5 months ago, was AI, I think, has got to the point where it can really do a good job of analyzing videos on specific channels. And so
Yeah,
I have
it's
another
crazy.
prompt where I actually gave it my channel originally, and then I gave it three other channels that I really like. And I said, what I want you to do is analyze my channel and my old content and rewrite it so that it's like it lines up better with these three that I'm giving you that I really like. The cool thing about that is now I can go back and re-record all that content that I've already made because it's different, it's going to be different content, but it should be in theory more optimized. And I've been doing that now for a couple months. If you go to my channel, especially, you'll see the stuff that I recorded a year ago. Some of that I've redone and remade. The topics are very similar, but it's just a way to repurpose content over time because that's the one thing about it is if you're putting out a lot of content, it becomes kind of tough to always have new content every day. And I went through a stretch, part of it back in November of last year, to prove a couple things. I was doing like 22 pieces of content, 22 to 25 pieces of content a day. And most of what I was doing was just repurposing old stuff.
Piece of
And
content day.
I had a speaking engagement in Vegas in January, and I'm a firm believer that I'm never going to get up and talk to people and tell them what they should be doing. I think there's enough of that in real estate, and so I was of the opinion if I'm going to get up there and talk, I need to prove it.
And that's all
Um,
there is going on in real estate.
and
Everybody wants to
so
tell you what to do.
yeah, so I created this test and basically over 60 days, I was putting out 20 to 25 pieces of content a day. And I was only spending money on chat. I was paying the $20 a month for chat because it was faster because I was using it so much. I didn't want to sit there and wait. And then I was paying $9.99 a month for the captions app to do captions. And that was also what I was using to edit. So basically, I was spending $1 a day to put out 25 pieces of content a day. And the crazy thing about it is in that time frame, I had almost 400,000 views in 60 days across all the different platforms that I was posting
Wow.
to. And that's where, I wanted to prove like you don't need a big budget. You don't need to be spending a bunch on editors and all this, you know, especially with short form content. Now, I do think when you get into YouTube long form, there's a little bit of that maybe you should. But even right now, I've kind of kept it going because part of it for me, you spoke about Alex Hermosi earlier. One of the most valuable things that I've seen watching his content is he's proving to you what he's doing works because it's what he's doing. And that's one thing for me. I really kind of wanted to build this consulting business kind of off the same premise of like, I'm going to show you what I'm doing and show you how it works. And so, that was a phenomenal test. Now, I will tell you right now, I did that for 60 days. I could not keep that pace up because some other stuff in our business went down because I was doing that for 60 days. But I think realistically, 3 to 4 pieces of content, any agent can do that no matter how busy they are in 30 minutes a day. So,
Well,
um,
and you're absolutely right. They can, but sometimes they get so overwhelmed because they don't know what to do. So that
yeah.
overwhelming anxiety drags that 30 minutes to like 2 hours, and they're like, I'm not gonna do this again. Well,
Yeah.
watch the
And that's
video,
where
follow the instructions, you'll get it done in 3 minutes a day.
Yep. And that's where I think too, what you said really is so important about the reps and doing it over because what happened is when I started that test, I was built all new systems and the first couple weeks it was pretty time consuming. But after 2 weeks, I had got the systems dialed in that it was no big deal. I'd sit down real quick, I'd make those pieces of content in about an hour to an hour and a half for the day. And then I also wasn't paying for like scheduled posting or anything like that. Like I was doing it myself. So I just set a timer on my phone. I'd have it all in my camera roll. I'd hop in, I'd post it, and then I'd go. So it can be done. And I think all too often in real estate, we get sucked into this. I need to hire someone to do this, that, and the other thing. Now, I think, yes, that sometimes that is, your time is the most valuable asset you have. But what I'm seeing right now is a lot of real estate agents are brand new. They're closing 1 or 2 deals a month. And they're like, well, I hired a video editor. I hired a transaction coordinator. I hired all this and all this. And next thing you know, like, yeah, they start closing more deals, but they're not making any more money. And that's exactly where we were.
No, it boggles my mind, but hey, it is what it is. Well, in wrapping up, if anybody wanted to reach out to you, like how can you help realtors in today's market that are looking for leads? And I say that
So,
with the caveat that I believe personally that you can spend your money one of two ways. You can spend or your time. I think time is more valuable, right? You can spend your time trying to learn how to do something or you can, we talked about those people that hire the videographers and they did like that. So you can spend time to do that for you. But I find that a lot of those videographers or a lot of the people that get hired have never really done lead generation in this realm this way. And there's a lot of components to it. There's a lot of
yeah.
social media influencers that I follow that are just social media influencers, not mortgage or real estate. And they have several different people in different parts of the process to help them do their content. So I say all to say that my understanding is that you can do a large portion of guiding the realtor and helping them generate leads themselves. So what does that look like? How can you help? And how can they reach out to you?
So, well, to reach out to me, if you pretty much every social media platform, if you search real estate broker Josh or real estate broker Josh Reese, you'll find me. I'm on all the major platforms. The other thing I would say is this is kind of my motto that I always tell people, and it's there's only two goals in real estate lead generation, and it is to provide so much value when they don't need you that it would be absolutely ridiculous for them to call somebody else when they do need you. And part two is be so good at part one that they can't ignore you when they don't need you. So that's like the biggest piece of advice that I can give anybody.
Dude,
Um, I do also, so I have, if you follow my social media, everything that I'm talking about today, I give away for free. I do not gatekeep anything. Now, I will say if you want a little bit higher level of screen shares and one-on-one time with me, I have a school academy. It's $25 a month. That gives you access to my whole course catalog, which right now I've got, I think, 5 or 6 courses up there. I'm constantly adding more, and I do right now just one mastermind a week. But I am going to add more to that. So I just started that in May. It's brand new. So if anybody's interested, I would love to have you there. And it's kind of just getting the ball rolling now. So it's called Real Estate Lead Gen Academy. There it is right there.
boom. And you
So
and you said you also have a mastermind call. I apologize. I was looking for it. I missed that.
So the mastermind call is part of school. So
Okay.
anybody in school can register for that.
Okay.
Um, So, and then,
So
but
just go to school, register, and you'll have access to Josh and all the Josh's offerings.
yep. And I will tell you this right now. If you want to search through everything that's on school, you can get for free off my social media account. So if you are technology savvy and you want to do it, you can do everything that you don't have to pay. It's just if you want the extra help or one-on-one time with me, that's where the school school community comes in.
Step by step PDF. This is fantastic.
So, yeah, so one of the big things in the school academy is every guide, similar to this one I made for this one. I've made guides for a lot of things, and Rick, I've sent those to you too.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
dude, we showed one. It was amazing.
yeah, so those I have guides for a lot of different things that I'm always adding. The other thing is, if you guys join
Like
school,
home,
you
like
can
home buyer
download my book for
guides.
free.
Uh,
There's some home
let,
buyer guides in there. I do a lot with organic lead gen, so open house systems to generate more leads for open houses. That's what I talked about with Jimmy. I've got a lot of
I
like
loved your strategy, by
variation.
the way, of that
I,
open house. But we won't go too because I want to wrap this call up. But you got that call was awesome. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, and that's, I really try to take, like, I don't think we need to innovate in real estate. A lot of times we just need to optimize. So a lot of my stuff is like open house strategies, cold calling strategies that, haven't been updated. That was my most recent article that's coming out in Inman, I think next week, is how to basically bring cold calling into the 21st century. So,
Awesome. Well, I'm going to leave this here. We'll end on this note. For those of you guys, 25 bucks is a steal. Even if you don't like it, I think he said go to his page, check it out. It's a
yeah.
win-win. It's a can't lose. And I would highly recommend you check it out because if you don't change, if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Yep.
But I loved your quote, man. It's another Hermosi-ish quote. Like work your butt off so much that you can't help but succeed.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing, like,
Brings so much value.
especially in real estate too, like, we're paid, we make a good amount on a commission, right? And like you need one or two good ones and that will get the ball rolling. And that's really, I think all too often we get stuck in this mindset of I have to close, 10 deals a month to be profitable. Well, you do if you're spending way too much money. But a lot of times it's like if you can make everything efficient, you can close one or two a month and then use that as a building block to continually grow slowly. It does take time, but we don't need the average conversion rate right now in real estate is less than 2%. So when you think about that, just think about if you can take your conversion rate from 2% and get it to 3% in a year without paying any extra money, what is that going to do to your pocketbook?
I'm looking up a stat now. You made my head think. As soon as you said the average, the little bubble started going up. What percentage? So I'm going to do this live because I heard a stat. What percentage of realtors are actively, should I say, marketing on social media?
Yeah, I don't know. It will be interesting to see how they. I think I know what stat you're talking about though, and it's pretty low.
No, not 77%. That's wrong.
Well, and I think it's video content. Look at video content though, because that's another thing we're seeing is there's a lot of real, especially brokerages now are rolling out these
Generic,
like
yeah.
generic auto posting. And I challenge anybody, look at your insights on those posts. They're getting no reach anymore. And it's because if you're at a big brokerage and all, 30,000 people post the same thing at the same time on the same day, the social media algorithms aren't giving it any reach anymore. Even to your followers won't even see it.
So it says 38%. I still think that's BS. So I heard a stat, and I love your perspective. And man, I got to wrap this call up. I got to go pick up my daughter from school. But I'm having such a great time with you. I heard a stat that less than 6% of realtors are actively using social media for video.
Yeah. And I think I've heard that stat too. And I think the biggest thing when I heard it was consistently. So I would bet like 38% of people have used video one time or another, but consistently, and we can argue about the definition of consistent, till the cows come home, but ultimately I think it's very low are actually utilizing it like on a consistent basis.
Well, Josh, this has been a blast. We got to find a way to get together and do something again.
Absolutely.
What do you got going on the next 30 minutes? Be pretty tied
Uh,
up? You got free?
I'm free. Yeah.
I'll probably call you in the car, bounce some ideas off you. But thanks for coming on,
Okay. Yeah.
dude. the blast, man. This is great. And yeah, looking forward to the next one. Hopefully we can get this live on Inman shortly.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me, Rick. Talk to you soon.
That means end the call. I'll hit you up.